What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the YouTube watch list. Hopefully you guys watched last week's video. There were some insane levels. I hope you crushed it. Without further ado, let's take a look at the economic calendar, the earnings calendar, and then we're going to go over about 15 different tickers that I'm watching for this week. So let me go ahead and share my screen. There we go. All right. Let me pull up the economic calendar. Boom. All right. So the main thing that I want to focus on when we look at the economic calendar is this right here. On Wednesday, 2 p.m., if you have any open positions, you're going to see a massive pop or a massive drop. The interest rate decision is going to be released at 2 p.m. on Wednesday, along with the FOMC statement. And then at 2:30, the press conference begins, and that's when Jerome Powell begins to speak, and he elaborates. He answers questions. He pretty much elaborates on the FOMC statement, and we'll see a lot of volatility there. So 2 o'clock and 2:30 p.m. Eastern time on Wednesday. If you don't want to see a huge fluctuation in your positions for the good or for bad or good, you might want to close them at 1:59 or earlier. All right, and then also, we'll have unemployment on Friday, non-farm employment change right there. Yeah, take a look at all of these folders. So you can go look at the orange, yellow, and red folders. So let me apply all of them. And you can see any economic event that impacts U.S. markets. I like to just focus on the red folders because those are the most important ones. But yeah, so I like to go to forexfactory.com. You can find that information there. Next, let me pull up our earnings calendar. Let me go to that really quickly. All right. So we have Amazon, Apple, AMD, Meta, Google, XOM, UPS, Pfizer, Caterpillar, Ford, Snapchat, McDonald's, Spotify, a ton of companies announcing earnings. And you can see right here after the close, we have Amazon, Apple, and Google. That's on Thursday. That's going to be the big day to pretty much determine where the market goes for the next couple months, in my opinion. We also have Meta on Wednesday after hours, and then AMD after hours on Tuesday. So I'll be watching Tuesday, I'll be watching AMD, Meta on Wednesday, Amazon, Apple, and Google on Thursday. And I will be trading all of them hopefully the day after. I don't like to play earnings. So focus on those this week. And without further ado, let's take a look at our watch list. All right, so as you guys can see here, SPY is breaking out of this falling wedge bull flag, which whatever you want to call it. It looks more like a bull flag. Falling wedge is usually a little steeper, but that's just semantics. So let's take, this is on the weekly chart. Let's take a look at the 4-hour chart. So on the 4-hour chart, I want to zoom in on these levels. So excuse all the white lines. We could clear the entire drawing set, but I'm going to bring it back. So we broke out of this area and just went nuclear, right? We went all the way up to 408, and then we sold off into the close. So what I'm watching for this week is a pullback to about 403.5 or maybe even 401.5 to see if we can get a bounce there. If we don't get a bounce there, then I fully expect to retest this 398 to 395 area. But, last week we had some nice moves, nice continuation to the upside. I told you guys I was feeling really bullish. This week, I'm kind of feeling a bit neutral, I'm feeling neutral. I thought we were going to get to maybe 410 last week, and we got to 408. So we did make a nice move. But yeah, we caught a lot of good trades in our group. We had this bounce right here called on our watch list. And then the next day we had this bounce right here called on our watch list. So 2 of those days we had the absolute bottom. And then on Friday, we were $1 away from the absolute bottom. We thought it was going to get down to about 402.5. It bounced around 403.5. So this is SPY. If we look at it on the daily chart, you can tell, let me clear the drawing set again, but you can tell we broke out above that 402 area and tested 408. So now the next big level is this 410 area. So remember, let me put this back. Remember, I'll put this 410 area in purple. So remember, we bounced 410 there. We rejected it here. We rejected it here. We rejected it here. Are we going to finally break out if we get there? That's what I'm watching for. If we can bounce at 401 or 403.5, that would be nice, and then move up to 410. But I do fully expect to touch 410 this week, whether it's before Powell or after Powell speaks, or we touch it and come back down or explode through it. Not sure, but I'm expecting to touch it. All right, let's go to QQQ next. Very similar pattern, falling wedge on the daily chart. And let's zoom in on the daily. All right, so we have some supply right here. We're holding below 300. I expect us to try to test 300 again this week. We tested 298 and then rejected back down at 296 on Friday. Let's take a look at on the 4-hour chart. And this is, I go over SPY QQQ just to kind of go over the market structure. I want to give you guys the general idea of where the market is so you guys can have an idea of what to expect so you don't go into it. So we tested these higher highs, or these higher levels. I expect us to come back down to about, generally right around this area, or maybe even to this area. So I want us to come back down there and then bounce, right? Hopefully it happens tomorrow and we start bouncing immediately and we get the show on the road, but we'll have to wait and see. Futures currently, let's take a look at what futures are doing. Currently, futures are right across the board. Take a look at that right here. The top four. So you can see right here, they're red, minus 0.3, 0.36, 0.42, 0.48. So futures are red right now, which doesn't mean much because there's still plenty of time to for us to recover, or the trading hasn't even started. But I'm expecting for us to come down a little lower. I would love if we could bounce at 293.5 on QQQ tomorrow, 293.5. And then let's take a look at IWM, which is the Russell 2000 ETF. And I mentioned to you guys last week this cup and handle. So first of all, it's also trading in this falling wedge bull flag. Now let's go back to the 4-hour chart. I mentioned to you guys this cup and handle pattern that we are seeing right here. This cup handle. So we broke out on Monday, came back, retested it, and then ripped, right? If you caught that, congratulations. And this is its resistance area, this 190 area. So what I want to see on IWM, if we want all of the small cap stocks to go nuclear to the upside, we need to break this 190 and start heading to 200. So this 200 area will be the next resistance area. But right now we're currently at resistance. We need to break above 190 with strength. If we break above 190, then we have room to obviously 191, and then 194 and 196 would be the next resistance, and then 200. More specifically around 202. So I want to see IWM break 190 with volume, with increased volume, and with conviction, with strength, and then maybe we can come back and bounce at like 191 if we can test this 194 area. If we can go up this way, come back right here and bounce, and then retest 195 and then head to 200 in the coming weeks. All right, so now let's go over the tickers that I'm watching, and I would like to start with Apple that announces its earnings report after hours on Thursday. So Apple, beautiful bottoming pattern right here, beautiful bottoming pattern. Now we do have some demand in these areas. So if Apple were to come back down to this area, I would like to test it for a bounce. If it comes down here, I would like to test it for a bounce. If it can't hold this level, then I believe it will come back down to 138.5. And if it can't hold that, then we might have some more aggressive selling. But I want to see if it can hold this general 144 area. I want to see it 144 bounce tomorrow, 144 to 144.3 bounce tomorrow. Next up, AMD. Oh, let's go back to Apple real quick. If Apple can hold this range and break above it, then we could expect it to get to these levels right here. So these highs right here that we rejected, we can expect Apple to get up there if it doesn't want to head lower. So if it just breaks this area with volume and continues all day, this would be the next area of resistance. All right, next up, AMD announces after hours on Tuesday. It has a nice little pattern, nice little ascending triangle, symmetrical triangle. But on the flip side, if you want to look at the bearish view, it's kind of creating a little bear flag. It's consolidating right here. So if it can break out above this $80 area, then we could start heading back down. And if we test this area and break down, then obviously we'd have a ways to go to the downside. But let's go back to the 4-hour chart. So you can see this resistance area right here and this resistance area right here creates a little ascending channel after a downtrend. So we have a downtrend and consolidation. That's called a bear flag. However, we have a symmetrical, what was that? We have this symmetrical triangle right here. So if we can break out above this $77 area, then I think we have room to close to 80, 79 to 80 bucks. So above 77, we can target the 78 calls for a move to 78 and see what it does there. And if it can break out above 78, then see what it does to 79 and 80, and I would be taking profits into that area. Now, if AMD comes down to the 72 area, I would want to see if it can bounce right here. So we can draw it out right here. I want to see if it can bounce back up like that. I would have a tight stop loss if I got into calls right here. If it breaks right here, I would take profit up there after taking the 77 break. And then I would expect it to come back down here and bounce, right? So, you know, it went up, down, up, down, up. I'm expecting a similar thing. Up, down, something like that. So if we break out, up, then come back down for another bounce and then back in. All right. And then Boeing does not have earnings this week, but if you take a look at it on the weekly chart, you know, it had a nice little double bottom right here, nice little bounce. Take a look at it on the daily chart. We are bull flagging right here. Take a look at it on the 4-hour chart. Nice little bull flag, right? So Boeing likes to trade in a momentum pattern. So it likes to continue in the direction that it's going. So if it can break right here, I would want it for a scalp. So let's zoom in. You know what? Let's go to the 15-minute chart. I'm gonna clear all of these drawing sets. If Boeing can break above this 215 area right here, I would want to see a move to 216.64. Now, I want to say I'm not in love with this one, but it is one that kind of caught my eye. It's had some nice consolidation. And so once a stock consolidates for a while, I like to keep an eye on it because after we consolidate for a while, you know, it's been consolidating between 202 and 216, 217. So that's about a $15 range it's been consolidating in for the last almost a month, right? So eventually, a name like Boeing, after consolidating for so long, will make a big move. It also reminds me of Meta's consolidatory pattern way back. Hold on, let me show you guys. I'll have to do it on a daily chart. But Meta consolidated right here for so long in this pattern right here. Popped up, came right back down, consolidated, popped up. But these breakouts were nice. So let's go back to Boeing. Boeing is consolidating, not as long of a pattern, but whoa, there we go. You know, it's consolidating right here. So it's worth keeping an eye on. It hasn't consolidated for this long in a while. It did right here, and then it made a strong move down. So either way, I want to catch it. But yeah, nice consolidatory pattern. It's one that I want to keep my eyes on. It's not one that I love, but I will have alerts set. So let's say if it breaks above that trend line, I'll get an alert. And if it breaks below that trend line, I'll get an alert. Just want to keep an eye on, but it's not one that I'm really wanting to trade this. And next one is Best Buy. Not a name that you typically hear from me, but we have this nice little cup right here, another nice little cup right here. That's called a double bottom. So we have a bottom right here, we have a bottom right here. And then this whole entire pattern has like a little cup and then a nice little cup. And then we're getting kind of a little handle, very close to being a cup and handle. But generally it is a cup and handle pattern. Just It doesn't fit the exact requirements of a cup and handle, but I'm gonna go with that. And the reason I like it is because I think that we can break this $87 area. And if we break 87, we have a high probability chance to make a move to 89. So $2 move in an $86, $88 stock, that's a pretty good move. So if we go look at it on the 4-hour chart, you'll see that it's creating right here an ascending triangle. So a flat top with an ascending support, that's called an ascending triangle. And I want it to get some strength above 85. If it can cross above 85, then what's going on? If we can cross above 85.34, then I think we have a move to about 87. And the way I would want it to happen is a move like this. Move to 87, come back down, and not get much below 86. So I'd want it to, stay right around here. And then consolidate right here. And if it starts creating a nice little bull flag, I want to get in on the bottom part of the bull flag and target and move to above 87, then it moved to 88.71. So I said 89, 88.71 is actually the target. My stop loss would be if it just can't hold this area. So for anybody who's kind of new, I'd be risking, let me remove this. I'd be risking about this much to make potentially that much. So I'm risking this much to make that much. All right. Next up is BIDU, which I do not like trading Chinese names personally, but I can't deny the fact that this one looks like it might be on the brink of breaking out. So this one has held up nicely in a little consolidatory zone right here, right there. And I just want to see if it breaks out. So I will have an alert, create alert withdrawn, crosses above. If it can break it out above this, I will want to keep my eyes on it. Again, this isn't one that I'm definitely going to trade. I like BBY a lot more than I like BIDU, or a lot more than I like Boeing. But so far, the ones I really like that I've gone over, Apple, AMD, BBY. But BIDU is one that I'm watching for a breakout above this trend. Next up, Coinbase. Look at this. Nice little breakout after that consolidatory pattern right here. So it consolidated here for a while. Boom. Went parabolic on Friday. I didn't trade it on Friday. I saw the move, but what I'm watching now is I would like it to come back down to this area right here for a bounce. So bounce generally between 57 point, let's just call it, 57.5 to 58. Let's see, what exactly is that level? Yeah, let's say 58 to 57 bounce. A bounce between 58 to 57. If it can't hold 56.5, that would be my stop loss. And if we catch let's say we catch a bounce at 57.5, I want it to go back up to 59.5. So I want to make a $2 move, and I would risk about $1. So 2 to 1 risk reward. That's appropriate. I want it about 2 to 1 or higher, but 2 to 1 is appropriate. So I'd like for it to come back generally in the zone. Let's just call it 57. A bounce at 57 for a move back up to 59.5. And if it doesn't bounce 57, my stop loss would be 56.5. So I'm risking 50 cents to make $2.50. So actually, that's a 5 to 1 risk reward ratio. So that's one that I'm watching. This one is one that I really do like. All right, next up is CRM. This one has a massive supply area right here. Rejected, 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 maybe. We'll see. I want it to come down to this 160 area for a bounce. CRM 160 bounce right there. And my stop loss would be if a 5-minute or 15-minute candle closes below 160. Yeah. If it breaks below 159, I'm definitely stopping out. And my profit target would be 166. Let's say 165, 166. So I'm playing the 160 bounce for a $5 to $6 move to the upside with a $1 stop loss. So 6 to 1 reward to risk right there. That's on CRM. Next up, DOCU. This has nice little inverted head and shoulders. Let me remove that arrow. I didn't mean to add it. So let's zoom in to right there. All right, so DOCU, nice little inverted head and shoulders, head right here, left shoulder, right shoulder. If it can break above, let me just set my alert. If it can break above this 61.4 area, I'll start watching it for strength. You know, it's consolidating nicely in this zone. We've been talking about consolidation a lot. So it's, you know, chopping up, consolidating above 50, below 61. So let's just say between 50 and 60. If it could break above that 61, 62 area, I would be targeting a move to 7. And my stop loss would be below 59.5. Well, let's just call it 59. So a breakout above 62, stop loss below 59, that's a $3 stop loss. For an $8 move to the upside, you're risking 8, or you're risking 3 to make 8. That's what, a 2.5 risk reward? 2.5 to 1, almost a 3 to 1. My stop loss would probably be a little tighter than that though. But yeah, DOCU is one that I like. Next up, Meta has earnings after hours on Wednesday. So this one is one I want to come back down to this 145 area for a bounce. If it doesn't bounce at 149.5 first. So I want to see if it bounces here. It was previous resistance and we broke above it strongly. So 149. Let's see, 149.3 bounce on Meta. If it doesn't bounce there, then 145 bounce on Meta. I really like that one. NVIDIA, this one went insane. Hope you guys caught it. Hope y'all caught that one. So NVIDIA on the weekly chart, little head, inverted head and shoulders. So head right here, left shoulder, right shoulder. It broke this neckline. Now it's approaching resistance. So I want to talk about it because I've seen a lot of chatter on Twitter about NVIDIA being the next move like Tesla, despite the fact that it did have a really nice move. So it broke out, right? Oftentimes after we see a breakout, we'll see it come back down for a retest. So I want to see if we can get a retest of, hold on. If we can get a retest of this 192 area for a bounce. If we can get back down right here, 192 or 188. So 192 or 188 bounce. So we're talking, I mean, it could even bounce at 197. So there, or there. So I'm looking for a bounce on NVIDIA. I don't want to play the breakout because if you guys could see this right here, this area we bounced, and after we broke below it, we rejected right there. And now we could reject again, and I want to reject again down into this demand area, and then we can start getting calls right here for a better price. All right, that's one I really like. Let's go look at the 4-hour chart on it again. So again, if it can bounce here, okay. I prefer the bounce right here or right here. So again, it could bounce here, but I prefer this one or this one. I really prefer this 192 bounce. That's the one I really like. 192 bounce. If you can't buy with 192, stop out very quickly. Have very tight stop loss. You can wait for the 188.5 bounce. Next up, Roblox. This one isn't one that I often trade, but I like what I see on this chart. Nice little consolidatory downward channel. This is on the weekly chart. Let's take a look at the daily chart. Look at this. Nice consolidation zone. I don't know if this wick is real or not. Let's go take a look at that 5-minute chart. Oh, this is a New York Stock Exchange one. Yep. That big red wick, that's not real. So that was when they had that data outage. So despite this red wick, it would be consolidating. Let's ignore that red wick. It would still be consolidating nicely. And it looks like we're about to break out above this trend line. So if we go to the 4-hour chart, if we can break out above this 38 level, I want to see a move to 40. Very simple. If we break above 38 and then come back down, I would stop out. But if we can break above 38, I'd be looking for an entry to go long. Yeah, that's pretty simple. Just a $2 move. And my stop loss would be a close below 37.5. Let's just say that. So I'm risking 50 cents. If it breaks 30, I'd be risking 50 cents. And I'd be targeting a $2 move. So 4 to 1, risking 1 to make 4. Next up, Tesla had earnings, went nuclear. It was bull flagging and just absolutely ripped very nicely. But now I want to see if it's going to continue having strength to 200. If it does, if it continues up, then the next stop is 200. If it comes back down, then I want to play this bounce off 167 right there. If it doesn't bounce 167, then the next bounce is 160. All righty. Next up, and I think that might be it. And that's it. Let's go take a look at SQ, last one, because we had SQ on our watch list last week. And it went insane. I said above this area. Actually, I said I wanted it to bounce 75, but above this area it would go all the way up to 82.5, and it went to 82.5, came back and bounced in this area, ripped back up to 82.5 and higher. So if we're gonna play this one again this week, let's go take a look at the daily chart. Let's see. There. Let's go to the 4-hour chart again. Yeah, there isn't it's not as appealing. It was appealing, you know, it had this resistance here, then broke out, came back, retested. But there are a lot of names that I mentioned this week for this coming week that have the same pattern that this one did before it made that move. So watch this video again if you need to. Much love, go crush it. And if you want to trade with us, earlybirdoptions.com/plans-pricing. All right, I'll talk to y'all later. I'll see you guys next Sunday. Y'all be going. Bye.